Thanks everyone for coming, especially so late in the day. It's great to see you all. Thanks Joe for the introductions. As it says, I'll be talking today about how optimising social connections across the life course in real world populations. So it's going to be the talk of three parts really. First of all, looking at patterns of social ageing overall, then thinking about social trade-offs, particularly in relation to disease in real world populations, and then finally, there's more of like opening a discussion session, thinking about the benefits of digital engagement for benefiting these two areas of social ageing and then avoiding disease as well. So, as a quick introduction, first of all, again, thanks very much for inviting us to the organisers. It's been really great to participate in this conference so far. It's been brilliant. Again, apologies for the Yorkshire accent. Anybody who came to Joe's talk earlier, double apologies as well. So he was obviously, hopefully you're used to the accent a little bit by now. So that's Joe, just so any confusion, that's me. I thought I'd put this up so you can, but then when I looked at it, I realised these are a little bit unfair. We're starting to look more like that, especially in the topic of ageing. We're starting to look a little bit more like that nowadays. So the content, as I said, we're going to be talking about social networks, particularly in real world populations. So what do I mean by social networks? Well, when I first started working on social networks in 2012, around that time, before COVID, whenever you mentioned social networks, everybody's minds went to social media at that point. Twitter was just becoming big. Everybody was using Facebook. MySpace was coming to an end, that sort of thing. And then, as the pandemic hit, when I talked about social networks, everyone's minds went to the idea of these face-to-face contacts in real-world settings where disease might spread, particularly when we're thinking about contact tracing, those sort of things. And then, after the pandemic, people's minds quickly went back to, wait a minute, we've missed out on the benefits of these real-world connections that we've shut down on during COVID. There might be something about these real-world connections that we might need to get back. There might be some benefits there, particularly thinking about people who might be in social isolation. So while I've worked on all these areas across these different times, thinking about social media networks or real-world networks in relation to disease or other benefits, one of my main areas is also working on natural populations, so not just in humans, but thinking about how we can use animal systems as model systems, just like you might use a lab rat, for instance, in a lab to understand some sort of chemical process or physiological process, thinking about how we can use these real-world systems to understand social networks. So when I talk about social networks, I'm referring to this really general idea that you can take any society, any structure at all, and think about individuals, so these are what we call a node in a network, and how they might be joined between these edges. So when I talk about social networks, I'm talking about this very broad idea. And as I say, we'll be talking about this in the context of three parts today.